My idea with my band was, it's one of my biggest dreams, and I will live this dream probably forever if it's not possible to finance it and do it. I always wanted to go with my friend who has a big old windjammer, like a bark. I wanted to travel the old slave route from Africa to New Orleans via Jamaica and all the islands, the old slave route, and with a bunch of musicians aboard, and everywhere we stop, meet locals and follow the slave route musically to New Orleans. And so Joe thought, well, these days I will never get a bad budget for that, why don't I do it musically? And I said, okay, that's a great idea. So I got a collection of songs about slavery and covers from Bob Marley to Curtis Mayfield, whatsoever. And I said, isn't that a good idea if we recorded with all our friends like Campbell and Levon and whatnot, and add it as a bonus to our new album and dedicate it to Amnesty? And so I needed the permission. And Joe and I flew to Dublin to speak to Bill Shipsey, my old friend, the Director of Arts for Amnesty, or the founder of Arts for Amnesty. And sometimes, you know, around the table, a bottle of wine, we never got to talk about my route to New Orleans thing. But he said, by the way, we have 50th anniversary of Amnesty, and so far I don't have an idea what we do. Probably, you know, every country will celebrate, has festivities, parties for themselves, territorial concerts, but we need a global thing, and wouldn't it be nice if we would have a song? For a long, long time I'm working on a dream which has to do with music and with film, and that dream started on a boat that a friend of mine has. Not that he's so rich, but he's got a big old, what it is, like a windjammer, two-mast schooner. He sails around the world and lives on that thing, and I think he still has a mortgage on it or something. But I was thinking I would love to sail with him from Senegal, the old slave route, to New Orleans with a bunch of musicians aboard and follow the slave route musically, you know, from the griots, from the African singers, to what it actually is today, the contemporary music. And everywhere we stop, a bit like the Buena Vista Social Club, but on 10 different stops. This is a dream, and maybe one day it comes true. So my friend Joe, and my consultant and friend, and I'm not allowed to call him manager, he said, meanwhile, why don't you tease that and make an album with all your friends like Campbell and Eric Burdon and Levon, and record the songs that you're thinking about, like songs about slavery and whatnot, and Buffalo Soldier from Bob Marley and Curtis Mayfield and whatnot. And I said, great idea. And because I'm a long-time Amnesty supporter, I said, can we not then donate it to Amnesty? Have it like a bonus album with my new album, with my band. He said, great idea, but we have to ask permission. I said, yeah, I know Bill Shipsey really well, the founder from Art for Amnesty. He's a good friend. Let's fly to Dublin and speak to him about it. And as the Sunday went, and we talked about everything and this and that, and he thought it was a great idea and probably a great movie one day, but he said it's Amnesty's 50th birthday, and I would love to have a global, an idea for a global event, or even a song, because Amnesty never had a song. You know, covers from Lennon, from Dylan, everything wonderful. They never had their own song. And I just came back from Woodstock, from a session with my band in Woodstock, and full of the spirit from that magic place, from Levon's place, from Levon's rambles, from the friendship, from the how grateful it is down there, and the music spirit and whatnot. And I thought, Levon's place, actually his barn, as small as it is, but wouldn't that be a great event to meet a lot of musicians there, record a song there, or even have the event there? Like the Beatles did with All You Need Is Love. They had a small place at the BBC. They were actually in a studio and broadcasted it to the world. So the world was the audience, and they only had invited a few friends, musicians and family. And I had the idea we could do that at Levon's place, and everybody really loved the idea. But first things first, so Toast to Freedom is the slogan which started it all off for Amnesty. I'm not telling the story now, you can Google that up. So I had the slogan Toast to Freedom, which I really, really loved. And started writing the song. Did not know how to put freedom into words. It's a very difficult thing to write about. It can be very naff easily, you know. But the Chelsea Hotel, Joe literally locked me up like Andrew Look Oldham did with Mick and Keith in the 60s, because I got impatient and I said, well, I can't write the music, but I can't write the lyrics, you know, impossible. Toast to Freedom, and then what? And he said, yes, you can. And so I started reading a lot at the Chelsea. Maybe it was the spirit of the Chelsea, I don't know, with all the free minds who lived in there and all the creative spirit, maybe. It's a good story though. But yeah, and then I thought of freedom as a mother of all things, as a female, as the start of everything. To me, everything that gives birth or lives or every root comes from something to me is female. And I was thinking of a woman, of the mother. Freedom is the mother of things, even of love and anything, even before love. And that kicked it off. So I'm actually starting it off as starting it off as a love song, you know, how delicious is the winning of your kiss. So that's the story a little bit, how this song kicked off and got on the move. It all started a year ago, I think in December, likely parallel with the kickoff of the Arab Spring, which to me the key event was when that young man, Mohammed, the Tunisian street vendor, burned himself. For some reason, with the turmoil and the Tunisian revolution, which then, you know, started the avalanche, impressed me so much. Sometimes you don't know why. I mean, every day people get killed and there's suicidal things and political things and people imprisoned in China and whatnot. For some reason, maybe it was even his face on the photo, whatever, that incident really, really knocked me off my socks, you know, and made me think about a lot of things. And why am I telling this? Because at the same time, we sat at Bill Shipsy's home in Dublin and talked about 50 years of amnesty and about the need of a song, or would I write a song, would I be able to write a song? So it's funny, the parallel that it started a year ago, and now we're a year further and we got that song ready to launch for the world. Everything started a year ago. Joe and I flew to see Bill Shipsy, the founder of Art for Amnesty, to talk about the 50th anniversary of Amnesty and the need of a song, the need of an event, etc. And nearly at the same time, the Arab Spring happened, the movement, the revolution in North Africa, actually in Tunisia. And what affected me most and really hit me was the death of Mohamed, his suicide. Mohamed, the young Tunisian street vendor who killed himself, burned himself. That really affected me and left an imprint in my soul for a long time. Sometimes you don't know why that is. At the same time, people get imprisoned in China, get shot. There's terrible things happening. Maybe it was his eyes, maybe it was the way the story was delivered. It really affected me. And subconsciously maybe helped me to even be so motivated to start working really hard on this Amnesty project. And actually, the day when we saw Bill was not just to talk about the song. We actually came there not to talk about the song or the event. We actually came there for a different reason, because I wanted to record an album for Amnesty with songs about slavery and the slave route, and follow the slave route from Senegal to New Orleans musically. And whilst we were talking about it, and I just came from Woodstock, I just came from a recording with Levon Helm, and that's when the discussion, when Bill broke the news that about 50 years of Amnesty, and which I wasn't aware of that day, and the need of a song and an event and this and that. And coming from Woodstock, which was another big, which also had a big affection on me in a different way, in a more positive way, because Levon's barn, Levon's studio, the Rambles, his people, the family, the music family around him. I mean, I would love to be there every day, and it's a very inspiring place. And till the end of the days, I would love to make my albums there, or write and create music there. But coming from there, I thought Woodstock and Levon's barn would be the perfect place to have the event for Amnesty. A small, intimate place with cameras in it and the world as the audience, like the Beatles did with All You Need Is Love in the 60s, when they were in a BBC studio with a few friends from the Stones and family and just a few people, maybe 150, 200, but the world saw them perform All You Need Is Love for the first time. So I thought, if we do that with our friends, musician friends, for Amnesty at Levon's place, I was so full of carrying this peaceful spirit and this wonderful spirit that Levon has, you know, nearly Buddha-like, like the Dalai Lama or Muddy Waters or whatnot. It's very strong, it's a great aura, it's a great spirit, and use that as the home for the 50 years event for Amnesty. And we're not there yet with the event, but we recorded the song there in Levon's barn. Levon is another word for freedom. That's interesting. Yeah, I could agree on that, because Levon is a free spirit, always been. A band leader, not because he wanted to be the band leader, but because he's leading people with his spirit, with his free spirit. I talked to Anna Lee, the famous Anna Lee from the song The Weight. She told me the story that Levon, even as a little boy, took care of the kids from the neighborhood, and so he's a spiritual leader, but also a spiritual mind. He was a role model for a lot of people, and when a lot of show business bullshit went down, he was always against it, you know, like, for instance, when the very last minute, for commercial reasons, when they shot the last waltz, when they wanted to cut out Muddy Waters, Levon stepped into his car like literally half an hour before the show and left. He says, I come back when I know that Muddy is in it. So there's a bit of a peaceful revolutionary in him. In every way, he won't take shit from nobody. And so yeah, Levon is freedom, and he did show it to us all, you know, free mind, and it's very attractive. When we recorded the song, of course, for commercial reasons and whatnot, your first idea is always get on the phone and try to get the big names and all. But the minute we were in Woodstock, we had a great band, great musicians together to cut the basic track, the song took over. Business was out of the house for a couple of days. There were things like that. We didn't need to call a piano player because Donald Fagen, who now is a great friend, even I only know him since the recording, sat in Levon's kitchen, you know, and said, oh, you know, love to join. Campbell was not far. He came in, played guitar and sang. What I'm trying to say is it built like a natural, it came from a root, the idea of the song, and the root was planted in Levon's barn, and he really supported it. It was all more about musical integrity, performance, than calling up corporate pop stars, big names, to blow up the event, which he normally would do. Of course, a mix of both is a great thing, but for a minute, there were so many great friends like Warren Haynes and Shawn Mullins and Campbell and all the others that I just mentioned, that it just grew by itself, you know, till the very last day when we mixed the song with Bob. The very last day, you know, people even sang on it because they just happened to be around and said, oh, can we join? Like Ewan, McGregor. Wonderful. And not only our musical friends who we worked with before, or friends of friends that Campbell knew, or, you know, that Warren or Bob knew, or Levon, but it spread out into the world. And I'm so delighted that we have a singer from Israel, David, and we have Rosanne from Iran, and people from Africa, like Angelique, and people from Jamaica, and Germany, and France, and from all over the place. And that again, the same. I sent the song to friends, and friends played the songs and said, oh, wouldn't it be great if Gentleman would sing on this? And I know him, I ask him, and this and that. So again, it was word of mouth, and the spirit traveled. And obviously there's something good about the groove of the song. Because I hate to say it's a great song because I wrote it, you know. You wouldn't hear me say that. But obviously there was something about it that everybody just jumped in and wanted to join. And of course for the cause, you know. And I think that the Arab Spring, hold on, I'm just...
It added momentum.
It added momentum, yeah. The Arab Spring definitely added momentum to it, for everybody. And there were other things, you know, there was the terrible execution in America. I forgot the young man's name. And the Chinese artist who was locked up and whatnot. So it was quite a year, this last year, you know, and not that it's different from any other year. Yes, you know, the bigger events and small events, but the Amnesty's fight goes on and it's always there. But for us, maybe working on the song and on the tune and being more aware, it definitely added momentum, yeah. Briefing for the musicians, I think, of course, the cause and Amnesty. And always my second sentence was, it's not We Are the World, it's not a pop tune, but because I couldn't write anything like that. And I knew that the first artist I approached, I knew they would like this kind of music, this kind of vibe in this song. And which is important, you know, because if it was a rap song, I think we wouldn't have Warren or Cab on it, you know. So, of course, the first artist I approached, like Levon and Cab Mo and Sonny Landreth and all these people, I knew the song was down their street. And with it, just glued to it was the quest for the cause, you know, for would you help us to celebrate 50 years of Amnesty, you know, would you help us on this song? They never had a song before, you know, it's always been covers and from other great artists, but this is their song, would you like to be on it? Yeah, with the briefing, of course I was curious and nervous. How do I brief my friends? How do I brief singers I don't know and motivate them? And I think it was a bit of the confidence of the genre the song is in that I first, of course, approached people like Campbell and Sonny Landers and Levon and Eric Burdon, close friends, see what they would say to the song. That everybody would love the cause, I didn't have no doubts. You know, everybody would say, of course we got something to say for Amnesty and we stand up for it, and we all be little revolutionaries to sing something for Amnesty. But I had to see whether the song would work, you know. But if the song wouldn't work, if it was just a meaningless pop tune with, you know, naff lyrics or whatever about freedom, I wouldn't get them. So at the same time, it was a bit of a relief for me that the song passed the audition, you know, with my friends. And then, of course, the actual briefing was, I told them, look, make the song your own. Pick a line, pick a few lines, even alter the melodies if you want, but really be in it, because, you know, be in it like you would be in it for the fighting spirit for Amnesty, you know. And so I sent them the demo, the lyrics, a few photos from our session, from the basic session in Woodstock. Or in the very beginning just told them where we would want to do it. And so that was another great thing. Levon's place and the name Levon is like a magnet. So they all wanted to be there and thought it was a great idea to record it there at Levon's barn. And then from the first session we had a few pictures and a few videos which carried the spirit that we had in that room, that magic spirit. And then it was actually pretty easy, you know. Fortunately, like it always is, a few artists didn't fit their agenda or whatever. But like I said before, Larry Campbell and I really went for integrity and let that root grow, and word of mouth. And like I said, even on the very last day of mixing the song, we had artists come in and sing. And not because, oh, they just made it. No, they just, the day before they heard we were in town and we mixed the song and what it was for. Like Ewan McGregor performed. Wizard, our bass player, met him yesterday at a Halloween charity party, and he was like, of course I come, of course I'm on it, you know. And so, like day one when it started, and closing with you, Ewan as the last contributor to the song, ends meet. And we sort of caught that spirit and we ready to launch it, and we did the music best we could. We all loved it. We had great times, great discussions about not just music, but, you know, many a times, many a night over a bottle of wine we saved the world and came up with new ideas for Amnesty. So the making of it till the very last day was a happening, I can say, a magical happening, which I haven't experienced not very often and not as deep as with this song. It is so amazing and peculiar to me that some artists came on the song which came from a completely different planet, from a completely different genre. Like Gentleman, who's a reggae artist, dancehall artist. Or like Pharrell, who comes out of the hip-hop world, or the rhythm and blues, the new genre rhythm and blues. And Miley said, our song, it's not particularly a folk song, but it's a singer-songwriter-based kind of song. No, I shouldn't say that, bollocks. I can go back to Pharrell again. Yeah, and so great that somebody like Pharrell is on the song, who comes from a hip-hop, from an R&B background, and found himself in the song. And I know they were struggling first because they had to find their way, but that again made it so interesting, you know. It should be always easy. It's like with art, and a lot of singers came on just like kids, just did what they wanted. And but yeah, Pharrell, that impressed me, and Gentleman, and or a singer like David Dorr, who is nearly like an opera singer or whatever. So, but it worked, and I think the song, the spirit of it, and the spirit of all the other artists led them and did show them a way to find their own little niche and spot in the song. It's quite amazing. See, my personal experience, it was an amazing year living with this song. Funny enough, with a lot of songs, and my very own songs, I get bored if I hear them too often. And funny enough, this was different because the song always lived, it always altered, it changed, you know. Unique interpretations, but also personally to me, because I was nearly at every session. Flew to Paris and here and there, and meeting all these people and hearing their stories, hearing their personal experiences with Amnesty and whatnot, and meeting Marianne Faithfull in Paris and hearing all her wonderful stories about Amnesty or her fight for freedom. And this whole trip to me was more than just recording a song and getting it done musically. This was a spiritual trip to me. I mean, look at this. Within a year, I made like 40, 50 friends on a very, very, very intimate basis that you normally would not have. I mean, I'm sometimes in bed at night. It comes to me like a reflection, all the meetings and discussions, and to me it's like I got paid for this with all that. I'm rich, very rich. I'm so rich after these years. With love, experience, integrity and whatnot. That's my very personal journey with this song. It was a journey, you can say. Yeah. Bob Clearmountain. What an honor to work with Bob. Just like Levon, like a humble, integer, spiritual man, lovable, unbelievably generous. We actually knew Bob, not in person, but I did a recording with my band in Woodstock, and we didn't have a budget at the time. And Levon Helm's family, I think it was Justin or Larry, I don't know, recommended to call Bob and ask him, because he has a house in Woodstock, and he let us stay there for next to nothing, you know. So that was my first introduction to Bob Clearmountain, and I couldn't believe my luck that I was actually living in his house, even though he wasn't there. And then when this came up, Justin, Larry and I think Joe too, well, I can't really put my finger back on it, it's all too much, who came up with, why don't we ask Bob? I think he was around, he had visited a ramble earlier on or something, and then Levon gave him a call, however it did. It had to do with Levon's team. And Bob didn't think twice. He says, of course I'm going to do it. Oh great, you do it at Levon's place? Oh, we wanted to check it out and work with Justin, you know, the house engineer. And with Larry Campbell, who I really admire as a multi-instrumentalist, as a great person. Of course, I knew him from Levon's band, and I jammed with Larry, and fantastic, lovable friend. With Larry, I worked on the arrangements, as him and me on acoustic guitars. We mapped out the song at the very beginning. And Larry is a fantastic producer. So, but actually we got the title MD, musical directors, for this. And Bob is actually the producer of the song. But meanwhile, we became a trio, musically directing and producing all together in a way. Whatever will be on a record, it doesn't matter, you know, whether it says Carlton cooking or something. But working together with Larry and Bob, again, one of these constellations you hadn't planned. You could only assume or sense that it would work, and it worked fantastic, and it worked without really talking too much, you know.